back all pharmaceutical money that I have in this cycle. Would you feel better?
Yes, because
Democrat, I don't care who you are, because I'm not loyal anymore. I Dem-exited, and I was a Democrat for 30 years. I have a lifelong family of Democrats who were, my dad was a Democratic committee man, loved going to all the conventions every year. You guys didn't even have a convention this year because you wanted to block delegates. Bernie delegates out. I mean, it's a war, and I'm not going to stop.
Rutgers students don't stop either. It's a fire, man.
I have that for my Democratic colleagues. That's the most patriotic statement I've heard in a long time.
And I am not an exception. I am not an anomaly. I am a Gen Xer who I have nothing in my retirement account because we have to keep draining my 403B and get tax hit up the wazoo. This is real for so many of us. I am not an anomaly. This is my peer group. We are suffering.
And so the best thing that you can do is exactly what you said.
And we will.
Fight at every front.
And I ask you to not take big money. I ask you, and I'm saying this human to human, I don't care what your label is. I know I threw out the neoliberal, but for me, seeing welfare reform and what it did for people I see on a daily basis, you know, we have people that have to shower in our bathrooms every day and they sleep in our waiting rooms all day long because of the crisis we have in Newark, shutting down shelters and all that. You know, go to Newark Penn any night. You know what I'm talking about.
Living for the last
So I'm saying person to person, like, don't take the money, don't take the PAC money, don't take the big pharma money. Do something like a Bernie, because that's what we know why Trump got in.
You were saying
he was the dark side of the anti-establishment. Bernie was the light side.
You're saying.
So now
we
all had a choice behind Bernie, but we all went behind the establishment. We know why we have Trump. We have Trump because of New Jersey Democrats, New York Democrats.
I was proud to vote for Hillary, so I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but to me, she represents a lot of bad that I saw in my community and with my clients. I'm sorry. Sorry.
I want to say two things. One is you're saying we can't unilaterally disarm.
No. I can unilaterally disarm because I can go out and get individual contributions. There are people all across this country that support me.
That would be great. That would be great.
And so I can unilaterally disarm.
Okay, so
you see my statement on Facebook, because you're still on Facebook. You see my statement on Facebook. I'm going to put a paragraph in there about the reality. Like, we lost the North Carolina Senate. You know why? Why? Because unfortunately, most people aren't as engaged as we just heard. And our North Carolina Democratic candidate could not face down the coat for us.
So if you did what you said, you gave back a lot of money. You gave back money and did not accept it going forward. And that would be nice. That would be nice. But what really upsets me is talking about safety. How you're against this because of safety. Understandable. Yet, Canadians live on average 2 years longer than us. And there's clearly no epidemic of them dying because of bad prescriptions. And last month on December 8th, you voted for the 21st Century Care Act, which really diminished the powers of the FDA. And I find that fantastically hypocritical.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
You're saying that the safety of our drugs is what's important. FDA is who determines the safety of our drugs. And last month you voted for a bill that dramatically reduced the power of the FDA.
So I will continue to fight for streamlining the FDA, and I think it takes too long to get drugs approved. I see no difference in this. And the simple example I'm going to give you, and this is what I talked to Heinrich about, Senator Heinrich of New Mexico, a young guy who is, again, nowhere near neoliberal. But my Heinrich is like something as basic as, if I use a drug in America and something happens, I have a reaction to it. My doctor who's treating me can know the origins of that drug with certainty through a simple safety measure called track and trace. All I'm saying is if the Canadian drugs come through and I get sick, and we have people dying all the time in America because of reactions to prescription drugs, don't you want to know where those drugs came from? So you can go
I think that's perfectly fair, but I want to know what I think that's fair argument. But to say the argument, I want to know exactly when to expect an alternative. that not just I'm not voting for this because there's a flaw. I want to know when is the alternative that addresses that flaw coming out, because you say you're for it. You say you're for it. You say you're for importing. You said that clearly on Twitter 2 days ago, yesterday. I am for importing drugs from Canada, and that's wonderful. But you didn't vote for it because you say you are safety. So when is specifically when is that alternative bill that addresses that flaw coming out, so that we know from your votes, from your legislation, that you will be fighting for importing drugs from Canada?
I introduce myself or be a co-sponsor of a bill within a matter of days now.
It depends. If the Bernie path works out because he accepts safety measures, it's their timetable, not ours. But the point is, one way or another, we're either doing our own or we're finding something that
maybe
meets
we should
the
put the word out
to
Bernie. Maybe that's the thing, is that there should be more viral messaging to Bernie to add safety to his measure.
Well, that's one way of addressing.
I just want to ask you a specific question. Sometimes
These are name brand drugs that they're already using.
and some other Democrats getting on a bill. I hope there's no fight.
I can't hear.
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
Sometime in the next couple months, somebody's bill's going to emerge as the #1 bill. Okay, but so I don't know if it's Bernie's, I don't know if it's any Klobuchar's, I don't know if it's going to be ours, but there are a lot of people now angry and working on their own bill, including me. We're working, but we're seeing if we can partner with Bernie. We got a lot more progress with his legislative people than him on the books going into the weekend. But you can listen to me right now. I will be on a drug import bill within the next 2 months at the very least.
Okay. And by the way, Pharma will not support.
Yes, the Pharma will be against. And by the way, this is my and my bill, and I think Bernie took my idea about
combining them.
I think my bill will combine Medicare Part D, which is the real thing. Please do your research. The real thing Pharma doesn't want, because everybody's not going to be able to go to Canada to get their drugs or what have you. But to give the American government the power to negotiate down drug prices, that is the holy grail that we want.
Yeah.
Right.
And so my bill will.
Are we going to put regs on?
Exactly. That's what
I want to stay right here because I just want to satisfy a couple points. Now listen, because I don't want you to leave here thinking that this young lady who are concerned about drug prices. The Republicans control the Senate. And that is really important to understand.
12 of them voted for this.
And 13 Democrats voted against it.
12 of them voted for this.
Brother, just please understand this, because I learned this lesson the hard way with the criminal justice bill. We've got that bill voted out of committee that would have liberated thousands of Americans from prison, wrongfully imprisoned. We got it out of committee. I had the chairman of the committee supporting the bill. But unlike the Democrats, Republicans fight different. Mitch McConnell thought that bill would divide his caucus, and he never let my bill get to the floor. So we're going to get Republican co-sponsors probably on our bill. I don't know if it has Medicare Part D negotiation. I don't know. It may not. But I'm just trying to tell you, no matter what, the chances of a bill getting to the floor without 50 Senate Democrats is very, very hard on this issue. I just want to give you the point.
I just want to be clear on what you're saying. So I'm hearing that it will have Medicare Part D, it won't have Medicare Part D. So you're saying that there will be basically exactly the Bernie amendment, roughly speaking, exactly Bernie's amendment with the safety thing added on within a couple of months is what you're saying, without Medicare D. I believe that's what you're saying.
No. First of all, Bernie's amendment may have 3, 4, 5 sentences. That is not legislation. Bernie's amendment, he put on there as a messaging bill. So just please don't make that more out of what he did than he's doing. So we saw Bernie's legislation, which was wholly incomplete. They're still working on it. They
didn't have it back from the Legislative Council when we first asked.
That means nothing to them. They didn't have it. In order to do legislation, you have to get sort of the Legislative Council, just even on language, shaping it. He was barely out of the starting blocks of forming legislation. There's already the Klobuchar legislation on this. There was a piece of Latin legislation that would have allowed drug imports that Bernie voted against about 5 or 6 years ago because he said the safety precautions were too much. So what I'm saying to you right now is, I'm your side. I represent you. We don't have to agree, but I represent you, and I will always try to be responsible.
I agree that you represent.
I promise you, there's not another United States senator in America who's sitting down with protesters right now at their rally, and all of us have them. I promise you, there's not another one sitting down with the people that were just, Trump is.
Bernie's probably Bernie's probably better.
But nobody protesting Bernie at his own rally. But I'm
Yeah, of course, nobody protests Bernie.
Your senator, what I'm going to fight for, so you understand. One, I'm going to do some things to clean up perception issues around pharma, okay? Number two, I'm going to be fighting a prescription import, and I'll send everybody here the language of our bill so that you have it if you want to. Three, I believe we should combine them both.
I do too.
Okay? And